I had a perfect FICO 8 credit score. I spent nearly 7 years applying every credit building concept and hack I could to building a perfect FICO 8 credit score. At the time, I was a personal finance educator. I was having a blast teaching students what I was doing. And not just the basics, which I'll share in this video, but the hacks anyone can use to build a perfect credit score. I'm excited to share how you and your partner can build perfect credit scores in your marriage. Through my story, I'll share basic credit scoring concepts and the most essential hacks you and your partner can use to build perfect credit scores. Let's start at the agonizing moment I saw 7 years of work building a perfect FICO 8 credit score evaporate in an instant with one simple mistake that any married couple can make. Hi, my name is Brian Page. I'm the founder of Modern Husbands, where we share ideas to manage money in the home as a team. Ideas such as how couples can work together to build each other's credit scores instead of destroying them. Let's travel back in time to my 3rd month of having a perfect FICO 8 credit score. The school day had just finished. I was grading papers at my standing desk when I heard a ding from my phone. Then another ding, and another. The dings were nauseating alerts, notifying me that my credit score had plummeted. I immediately called a friend of mine who leads credit education for Experian. Over the years, he was kind enough to take my calls of obnoxiously detailed questions that come with an over-the-top drive to credit scoring perfection. But this time was different. This was a 911 moment. We talked through the alert, and he eventually suggested that my worst fear might be true. He believed I was more than 30 days late on an auto payment. No way. I was steadfast in my pursuit to maintain a perfect credit score and make every payment on time. I contacted our auto loan provider, and they claimed that we did, in fact, miss a payment by more than 30 days. I raced home to ask my wife what was going on. The loan was in my name because of my credit score, but at the time, she managed the day-to-day finances. We opened her email to discover that we did, in fact, miss a payment by more than 30 days. The lender had emailed my wife a few boilerplate emails that failed to provide any specific language that would cause alarm. The emails looked like spam. Any one of us could have believed the email was spam. The lender claimed they had tried to call me. I received one call from someone who claimed to be our lender who wanted to start a conversation with me by providing them with my social security number. No thanks. So here's what happened. About 6 weeks prior, we had switched primary banks. I created a checklist of what needed to be done in the transition. At the time, we were so busy that we were having a tough time keeping our heads above water. We both worked, I was working long hours, and we had 3 kids. Most of our conversations were through text, so we worked through the checklist separately. We simply neglected to make the time to schedule regular money dates. A money date is a scheduled time to meet regularly with your partner to work through your household finances. Switching banks is a money date activity. It's something you should work through, sitting side by side with each other, so details are not missed. And just like that, 7 years of work and commitment evaporated because we missed an important detail. I share this with you to make the point that the most important tip to building your credit in your marriage has nothing to do with credit and everything to do with your marriage. I will share the 6 strategies I recommend for building your credit scores. But first, let's cover the basics, beginning with the difference between a credit report and a credit score. Rod Griffin, the Senior Director of Public Education and Advocacy at Experian, will begin by explaining the difference between a credit report and a credit score. Here's an excerpt of him from the Modern Husbands podcast.
Credit report is a record of your financial relationships, your debt-related relationships. It shows your payment history, the kinds of accounts you have, your relationship to those accounts. Are you a joint account holder and a primary account holder? Are you an authorized user, a cosigner, so on? It shows whether you're paying those bills on time or not. So it's that record of your financial relationships. A credit score is a tool that's used to analyze the information in that credit report and predict the likelihood that you'll repay a future debt as agreed. Essentially, they're looking at the credit history, in many cases up to 300 different variables in a credit score. The way I describe it, and Brian, you'll appreciate this as a teacher, and Bruce as well, credit report is kind of like a paper that you do in school. You do the work. You determine what's in that credit report. The teacher is kind of like the bank. They're looking at that information to determine quality of the work. A credit score is kind of like the grade that the teacher applies. In this case, the bank would choose the credit score they use to analyze that information. A credit score simply reflects the information in a credit report at a particular moment in time, and it's a tool to use that lenders use to predict the likelihood a person will repay a debt as agreed.
There are 3 credit reporting companies: TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. You can pull your credit report from each for free once a year by going to annualcreditreport.com. Credit scores are not free. In one way or another, you are usually paying for the score. Some credit cards provide a free score, but your score is a benefit of using their cards. You might not ever pay a penny in credit card interest, but your credit card companies make money on your transactions. Other services, such as Credit Karma, will provide you with a free credit score, but your personal data is the cost. And by the way, there's not just one credit score. There are a lot of different credit scoring models and multiple credit scoring companies. The primary credit scoring models use the same 5 factors to formulate your credit score. To understand how to build your perfect credit score, you must first understand the basics behind the 5 primary factors that affect your credit score. The 5 factors that affect your credit score are payment history, the amount of debt you owe, how long you've been using credit, newly obtained or recent credit, and the types of credit used. Each factor is weighted differently on your score. Payment history comprises 35% of your credit score and defines how consistently you've made your payments on time. This is the most influential contributor to your credit score. Your outstanding debt accounts for 30% of your credit score. And generally speaking, the lower the outstanding debt, the higher the credit score. Your credit history counts for 15% of your credit score and is based on the length of time you've had credit accounts open in your name. Applying for new credit, also known as credit inquiries, weighs 10% on your credit score. The degree to which your score is impacted depends on a number of factors. Each inquiry affects most people's score by less than 5 points and can stay on your report for up to 24 months. 10% of your credit score is your credit mix. Your score can increase if you responsibly use different types of credit, such as installment and revolving credit. Now that we have the basics out of the way, here are the 6 steps you and your spouse can use to build your perfect credit scores. First, schedule regular money dates with your spouse. Second, check your credit reports. Third, make every payment on time. Fourth, manage any debts late or in collection. Fifth, maintain a credit utilization rate close to 0%. And 6, protect your average length of credit history. The first tip is to build your credit scores as a couple, and to do so by scheduling regular money dates with your spouse. As I said before, the most important tip to building your credit in your marriage has nothing to do with credit and everything to do with your marriage. A money date is a scheduled conversation between you and your spouse in a comfortable environment that allows you to discuss your shared goals, values, and relationship with money. Money dates keep couples on the same financial page, allowing both partners to control money in the relationship. Money dates are referred to by some as household business meetings. Regardless of how you define it, you should speak regularly with your spouse about the household finances. Either way, it should go without saying that money dates should be done in person, not over text. Others are able to talk about money more casually. Let's listen again to Rod Griffin from Experian as he shares how he works with his wife to manage credit together.
When we talk about financial things with my wife and I, we start with a goal, not with the money, right? So we talk about what do we want to do next year on vacation? And then we look at what do we need to know from a financial standpoint and where do we need to start to save? What do we need to achieve? And money becomes part of that conversation as part of a goal rather than a point of contention for us. You start with a positive discussion. That's hugely helpful. Talk about your money kind of styles. My wife is a big saver. She was a single mom before we met. She saved every penny because she had to. 30 years on, that's still a habit for her. It's still something she does. So when I say, hey, let's do it, and she's like, no. And so we have to find that balance. So we talk about that. For us, it's become a sort of a day-to-day part of our conversation. Hey, do you want to go out to eat tonight? Well, maybe not because we're planning to do something else. That's money discussion. It's like, let's not because we want to spend money on dinner with some friends a few days from now. It can be as simple as that for us.
I want to emphasize, I need to emphasize that credit can be a wealth building tool, but it can also be a self-destructive financial weapon. Deciding whether to use credit cards is a personal choice that each spouse should make that must largely hinge on your ability to manage them as credit building tools. Much of the advice moving forward assumes each spouse is able to manage credit responsibly. If that's not the case in your marriage, then please use your own personal discretion to weigh this advice. Tip number 2, to build your credit scores as a couple. Check your credit reports. This is low-hanging fruit. As shared before, you can get one free credit report from each of the 3 credit reporting companies once a year at annualcreditreport.com. Getting your credit report can help protect your credit history from errors and help you spot signs of identity theft. A study conducted by Consumer Reports found that 34% of Americans found at least one error on their credit report. Errors on your credit report can hurt your credit scores. Dispute them immediately for the potential of a quick credit score boost. Tip number 3, to build your credit scores as a couple. Make every payment on time. Catch up with any other late payments as quickly as you can. Late payments hit your credit score hard. A matter of fact, it is 35% of your overall score. How late the payment is will also affect your score. Tip 4, to build your credit scores as a couple is to manage any debts late or in collection. Debts in collection have a significant impact on your credit score. Prioritize any debts that include the risk of a charge-off. According to Experian, a charge-off is an entry on your credit report that indicates a creditor, after trying and failing to get you to make good on a debt, has given up hope of getting the payment and closed your account. Contact the lender or collection agency and attempt to negotiate a settlement or payment plan, which will likely impact your credit score less than a charge-off. Catch up with any other late payments as quickly as you can. Late payments hit your credit score hard. Tip number 5, to build your credit scores as a couple, maintain a credit utilization rate close to 0%. Now, there are 2 ways to do this. First, pay every credit card balance in full every single day. I found this routine to give my credit score a consistent and significant boost over time, and believe it was one of the easiest and most important strategies that I employed to earn a perfect FICO 8 credit score. Second, request a higher credit limit without spending more. The higher the credit limit, the easier it is to maintain low credit card utilization rates. Some credit card companies will do this without running a hard inquiry. Check in advance if this is a concern of yours, and remember that a hard inquiry is only a small credit score hit that does not last long. Tip number 6, to build your credit scores as a couple, protect your average length of credit history. Think carefully about adding new accounts or closing old accounts. Here's why. According to FICO, when it comes to length of credit history, your FICO scores take the following into consideration. Number 1, how long your credit accounts have been open, including the age of your oldest account. 2, the age of your newest account. And 3, an average age all of your accounts. How long specific credit accounts have been open matters a lot. Opening a new account can hurt your credit score because it can drive down the average length of credit history of all your accounts. Once again, I included links in the description to additional material if you want to dive deeper and learn more. You can also choose any of 3 ways to follow along with our tips at Modern Husbands to help you and your partner manage money in the home as a team. First, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will share long-form videos such as this one, podcast episodes weekly, and shorts for fast tips and some humor. 2, subscribe to our newsletter. Every 2 weeks, we send out our latest articles, podcast releases, and free resources. Number 3, subscribe to our podcast, the 2023 Plutus Award finalist for Best Personal Finance Content for Couples or Families. You can find the link to all 3 in the description of this post. And if you already follow us, please spread the word to help your family and friends. We welcome all to the Modern Husbands community.